Good morning, Year 4. Today's English activity is a diary writing activity. I'm going to talk you through this PowerPoint. It's going to explain the features of a good diary and the sorts of things that you should be including when you come to write your own diary entry. Now, first of all, when you write a diary entry, you're writing about the day in the life of a real person or character. Often people are writing about themselves and things that have happened to themselves, but you can also write a diary pretending to be somebody else as if it was their diary. The diary entry needs to sound as if the person or character has written it, so it needs to be written from their point of view. It also needs to be exciting and interesting to read. To get this right, we're going to follow these few easy steps. Now, first of all, your diary must include the date or the time. And that's because it's important to know when a diary is written and what time of day any of those events are happening. The date or time can be written at the top of the page like this. So usually written at the top, in the top corner of the page like that. Or it can be included in the first few sentences of the diary entry itself. So like here, over the past months, I've been watching my crew members in the freezing temperatures. So this first phrase here tells us when the diary was written. And you can see that there. We need to know when the diary is actually being written. A diary is always written in the first person, and what that means is it has pronouns such as I, my, we, and our. The first person means it's as if that person is writing it about themselves. These words are special because they tell us the diary is being written by someone and they are talking about themselves. Look at these examples. As I looked down from our lofty home, I noticed a group of humans. They seemed to be holding loud, bright monsters with sharp, glistening teeth that were tearing our trees from the ground. The second example, as she looked down from their lofty home, she noticed a group of humans. They seemed to be holding loud, bright monsters with sharp, glistening teeth that were tearing their trees from the ground. In the second example, you can hear it's talking about somebody else. So that's what we call the second person. First example, this is more like a diary entry would be written because it's using I, our, and those sorts of pronouns there, not these ones here. Okay. Now, because diaries are always written about something that's already happened, they're written in the past tense. So, for example, 2 days ago, something dreadful happened. Endurance became stuck in a large sheet of floating ice, an ice floe, following risky conditions crossing the Weddell Sea. This is talking about something that's already happened. This is an example of what not to do. Today, something dreadful will happen. Endurance will stick in a large sheet of floating ice, following risky conditions crossing the Weddell Sea. This second example is about something that hasn't happened yet. It will happen. But that's not what you want to do with your diary entry. You want to keep yours more like this. So imagine the person's writing about their day. They're getting ready for bed. It's the end of the day, and they're describing what's already happened. Okay, something happened, stuck. These are past tense words. Don't forget to include an introduction to set the scene of your diary as well. Although you're writing it as if you are that person and you already know where those things happened, you've also got to write it so that the reader gets as much information out of it as possible. You might answer the questions who, what, where, or when. We look at these two examples. Today has been an unusually busy day for me. When I woke up this morning, I noticed that the usual calm atmosphere within our group had been replaced by one of panic. The second example, for now I must catch up on eating and sleeping and hope that they do not return tomorrow. This example here actually tells us about how the writer is feeling that day. They've noticed something. They're talking about the beginning of the day and what they noticed. So this is more like an introduction to the day. In a diary, events should be written in chronological order. Chronological means the order that they happen in. So when you're writing this diary entry, you wouldn't start at the end of the day, unless it was for effect. You would really start from the beginning of the day and go through the events in order. Also, only include the most important or interesting events. Not every detail needs to be included in your diary entry. Things like eating breakfast, taking a nap, are not really very interesting things for somebody else to read about. We visited the most amazing museum, an exhibit came to life, we had to evacuate the museum. Those are the sorts of things that a reader would be interesting to read. Obviously, you can include these bits if you think it's unusual. It might be different, something different for the character or for the events that day. Include personal emotions and feelings. Just like when you're writing any kind of fiction, it's really important to show how the character, and this time the character is you, it's really important to show how the character is feeling. A diary is usually a secret place to write the truth about how someone feels and about what's happened that day. So there'd be lots of feelings, hopes, fears that you wouldn't want anyone else to know about. There's some examples here. Egypt is such a rich, powerful country, and although I'm nervous about ruling it, I would rather do so alone. Yesterday, feeling relieved, we reached the island of South Georgia and then completed a day-long trek to find a whaling station. These are the sorts of feelings that a character would keep to themselves, not necessarily tell other people, but it's important to include that in the diary. You can use lots of time conjunctions, again, because you're writing in chronological order and you're writing about when things have happened. Conjunctions like after that, before lunch, until sunset are really useful to use throughout your writing. If we just use the same word, then, and, after that, again and again and again, it can get boring. So make sure you use a variety. Later, we will organise a lavish funeral for Father that will last for days, with plenty of music as he would have wanted. After hearing the news of my father's death, I overheard the members of the court discussing what is to happen. Okay, let's recap then on those main features. Which features can you see in this example here? Okay, you should have noticed the date in the corner here. Time words, yesterday, as soon as. The past tense, started, changed, I knew, entered. Feeling words, I began to feel anxious. Very importantly was that introduction right at the top there. Also those first person words, pronouns, I, my, throughout there, I and my. All right, you're going to move on to actually have a go at writing your own diary now. There are some worksheets attached on the Google Classroom, which I'm just going to go through with you as well. Now, when you're writing your own diary, you're going to have a choice of some different characters. Now, they're all animals in this case. You'll get either a witch's cat, your own pet, a rainforest creature, a safari lion, a farmyard animal, or a polar animal. So you're planning and writing a diary from the point of view of an animal. Not only do you have to imagine you're someone else, but you're something else this time as well. So you can be really creative and really use your imagination to put together a really interesting diary piece. Okay. Don't forget, you're going to include the date and time. You're going to write in the first person. You're going to use the past tense for the main events. Include an introduction to set the scene. And tell events in the order that they happen during the day. It's important to know a diary wouldn't usually be written over more than one day. So your diary should only cover the events for one day, not more than that. Don't forget to include personal emotions and feelings and some of those time conjunctions in there as well. Right, I'm just going to come out of here so that we can have a look at the classwork and the other sheets that go with it. So this is the diary writing PowerPoint that I've just been through. You can have a look back at that anytime you want. When you download it, it does open in a separate window. Make sure you open it in a separate window so that all the features work. If you just try and scroll down the screen, you might not be able to see all of the features properly. There are 3 examples of different people's diaries. There's one here by Cleopatra, who's a very famous person in history. You can tell by the date that is written there in the corner. Have a go at reading these 3 examples and look out for some of those features we've talked about. Look out for that introduction, look out for words that are the past tense, look out for those personal pronouns, I, my, and especially look out for those feelings words as well. Really try and understand how these characters are feeling. So there's one about Cleopatra. There's one that's based in a rainforest. And there's one by an explorer as well. And you can see there are actually 2 entries here by this explorer. Got the different date entries there. So do have a look at those and have a look at those features. Now, when you come to actually planning and writing this, you don't need to use this worksheet. This worksheet is just as a guideline. You can do this activity on your own piece of paper. You might want to type it onto a Word document onto your computer. That's absolutely fine as well. So first of all, you need to plan what you're going to do. You need to choose which character you are going to pretend to be. Plan what's going to happen in the introduction. So how are you going to introduce their day? Are they going to wake up feeling different, or is it just going to be an ordinary day, or is something else going to happen at the beginning of their day? The main event that happens on this day of theirs, and then more detail in chronological order throughout the day. Think about who, where, what, and when. So think about other characters that this character is going to be writing about. Try and describe where they are, what they're doing, and also when this was happening. So is it the morning? Is it early morning? Is it late morning? When you're adding more detail, remember to write in the first person, use the past tense, add some feelings words here that you can use when you do your writing, and the time conjunctions and adverbials that you want to use as well. A conclusion is important. We didn't really talk about this, but this is a good place where you would write about your feelings. How is your character feeling now that they're looking back on their day? What do they think about their day? Do they have any hopes or wishes for the next day? Often when people finish a diary, they write, I hope tomorrow will be quieter or calmer, or I'm really looking forward to the exciting events of tomorrow. Now, you don't have to fill anything in here, but this is a checklist that you can use to make sure that you've included all of those features that we talked about in your writing. There's also some examples of structures that you could use. So some starters, dear diary, when I woke up, I felt, then I, as soon as I, feeling. And then if we scroll down, there's some other ideas for some structures there, okay? So again, you're not doing this on the worksheet. No need for any printing for this activity. You can come back and listen to this video at any point, or you can read through the PowerPoint on your own, read through these examples of diaries, and then have a go at writing your own diary entry yourself. I'm really looking forward to reading your different diary entries year 4, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.